Alrighty, everybody. Welcome into No Such Time Domain. I'm still getting set up here. I'm about done, so hold on. There's two more things I gotta do real quick. Alright, that's muted. That's fine. Right. Okay. There we go. So this morning I woke up and I looked at my Discord because somebody added me and I had to block a person because they put a picture up. Like, I don't know what it is that when I speak out against, you know, the LGBTQ community, people decide they're gonna show me pictures of inappropriate homosexuality kind of thing. Now, granted, these were like not even now, granted, but like these were images that were based out of like um anime graphic novels and stuff like that. It's like this is what's deluding the minds of like individuals that find it completely acceptable. Why did you show that off to me after I told you the first time not to? So, like, I snapped at her today. I was like, don't show me that again. And I blocked her. Don't show me that again, please. I don't like that kind of stuff. I like, people literally, like, I don't know what they find so funny about that, but there's something very disturbing about that. When I lash out at you over a picture like that, it's because you're being a disturbing human being. It's unacceptable. In fact, I shouldn't have to wake up, look to a message you sent me of some homosexuality photo. You are blocked now because you did something that I already told you not to. I don't understand where people get such a low IQ where if they don't listen to you the first time, why would they perceive to do it a second time? Why would they still think it's funny and it's a running joke? I don't get that. I don't understand it, but all I can really do is sit here. I'm gonna pray for the person later on because unfortunately they just didn't listen the first time, and whatever they're going through in life, I don't know, but I hope to get help soon because that's some really like I didn't wake up. I didn't need to see that. That was very, very inappropriate for you to even do. That's why like I'm mad at you right now because you knew already I didn't like that stuff. It's like if I tell you 3 times over, the fourth and fifth time, I'm not gonna be happy with you. And then beyond that, if I have to keep telling you, it's on you then because you're literally like not paying attention to anything that's being said to you because you're Kuma brain because of the pictures you're looking at. Like literally, that's what that causes. It causes people to be like causes a level of low IQ. I swear. I swear that's what it does. And I'm not gonna sit there and if people don't want to talk, they don't have to. But at the end of the day, I look at it this way: if you're gonna sit there and do something, expect people to react a certain way, because people don't like that kind of stuff, especially when you do it over and over and over, and you think you're being funny. You're part of the problem because you didn't listen the first time. I told you already not to do it. So I don't know why you went and did it this time. Oh. Chapter 6. Now the gates of Jericho were securely barred because of the Israelites. No one went out and no one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its kings and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have priests carry trumpets or ram's horns in front of the ark on the seventh day. March around the city the seventh day. March around the city 7 times with priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them, send a long blast on the trumpets. Have the whole army give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse, and the army will go up. Everyone straight in. So Joshua, actually, there's a professional wrestler that does something called the Walls of Jericho. He's a he writes music and it's very Christian music, but like I want to say rock and roll, like I don't know. It's really hard to explain. But Chris Jericho, if you have a chance, check him out. He writes Christian music actually, and his finisher in the ring is like it's called the Walls of Jericho. It's based off of this whole whole scenario right here. I don't know if he's a fan of this story or what, but it's pretty cool that he named it that. All right. So Joshua, son of Nun, called the priest and said to them, "Take up the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and 7 priests carry trumpets in front of it." And he ordered the army advance, march around the city with an armed guard going ahead of the ark of the Lord. When Joshua had spoken to the Lord, to the people, the 7 priests carrying the 7 trumpets before the Lord went forward, blowing their trumpet, and the ark of the Lord's covenant followed them. The armed guard marched ahead of the priest, who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard followed the ark. All this time, the trumpets were sounding, but Joshua had commanded the army, "Do not give a war cry. Do not raise your voice. Do not raise your voice. Do not say a word until the day I tell you to shout. Then shout." So he had the ark of the Lord carried around the city, circling once. Then the army returned to the camp and spent the night there. Joshua got up early the next morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. The 7 priests, carrying the 7 trumpets, went forward, marching before the ark of the Lord and blowing the trumpets. The armed men went ahead of them, and the rear guard followed the ark of the Lord while the trumpets kept sounding. So on the second day, they marched around the city once and returned to the camp. They did this for 6 days. On the 7th day, they got up at daybreak and marched around the city 7 times in the same manner, except that on that day they circled the city 7 times. The 7th time around, when the priests sounded the trumpet blast, Joshua commanded the army, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city and all that it is in. That the city and all that is in it are to be devoted to the Lord. Only Rahab, the prostitute, and all who are with her in the house shall be spared, because she hid the spies we sent. But keep away from the devoted things, so that you will bring about your own destruction by taking any of them. Otherwise you will make the camp of Israel liable to destruction and bring trouble on it. All the silver and gold and the articles of bronze and iron are sacred to the Lord, and must go into his treasury." When the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and at the sound of the trumpet, when the men gave a loud shout, the wall collapsed. So everyone charged straight in, and they took the city. They devoted the whole city to the Lord, and destroyed with the sword every living thing in it, man and women, young and old, cattle, sheep, and donkey. Joshua said to the 2 men who had spied out the land, "Go into the prostitute's house and bring her out, and all who belong to her, in accordance with your oath." So the young men who had done the spying went in and brought out Rahab, her father and her mother, her brother and sister, all who belonged to her. They brought her out. They brought out her entire family and put them in a place outside the camp of Israel. Then they burned the whole city and everything in it. But they put the silver and gold and the articles of bronze and iron into the treasury of the Lord's house. But Joshua spared Rahab, the prostitute, with her family and all her belongings to her, because she hid the men Joshua sent as spies to Jericho. And she lives among the Israelites to this day. At that time, Joshua pronounced this solemn oath: "Cursed before the Lord is one who undertakes to rebuild the city of Jericho. At the cost of the firstborn son, he will lay its foundation. At the cost of his youngest, he will set up its gates." So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout the land. So we're on chapter 7 now. So yeah, there was a few things in this that actually remind me of a few things. So Chris Jericho, he does the walls of Jericho in the WWE, and he has actually his entrance song was "Break Down the Walls of Jericho," which is based upon this part in the Bible. And then we have Avenged Sevenfold, which I think there was something about a sevenfold or something like that earlier on, which I noticed. And then we got Sounding. They have an album. They had an album out when they first came out called "Sounding the Seventh Trumpet," which is it's all right. It's not the best album they have, but they there's a lot of biblical references in some of these bands and famous people, and that's how they become blessed. That's how they get so big, because they welcome Jesus Christ into their life, or like put something biblical related into their stuff, and that's how they become so blessed. Because take my channel for example, it's directed towards God and Jesus Christ, and look at how blessed it is on YouTube right now. Like how big it's grown since it started, like I'd say 4 months ago. So it's moved along pretty good. It's people, a lot of people have been seeing it lately, and it upsets a lot of people who, well, it just, people have their opinions about stuff, and at some point they got to get over their opinions, because nothing is gonna happen to that channel, because God has it protected. You know, a lot of people go against the grain with me for a lot of stuff, and I'll tell you what, when people go against the grain with me for a lot of stuff, I usually end up like showing them why they shouldn't have done what they did. Like the girl in Discord today, like I said, like she basically did something I disagreed with, and I'm not gonna continue to give her a hard time. I blocked her, but I wanted her to understand. And I was like, I already told you once not to do this. Why are you not listening to me? Why is it that people like that don't why is it that like after you tell somebody something once, they consist on going and continuing to do that? I don't understand that sense of logic, because it shows that you're like an apps you have a it shows that like you have no sense of like an IQ whatsoever. And that's why I'm literally not trying to be mean, but that's why everything is the way it is right now, because it's people lacking an IQ, or lacking the fact that they're not intelligent enough to understand what like certain things mean. And so we live in a world now where there's like 15 sexuality, 16 if you want to place one in there that wasn't talked about on that list, which I talked about here last night on Kick. But we're living in a society that's so messed up right now, and then people keep adding to that. People keep adding to the pile of like dirt that we live in, and I'm saying dirt as the latest factor of what we could be saying. One big ball of like poop. So, people keep adding to that though, and it's like, when do you stop? When do you people realize that you need to stop? Because like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. And people think it's funny, but it's not. It's just like you're adding into the ball of poop, the pile of dirt we've already built upon ourselves, because you think you're being funny. The reality of the truth is you're adding into that. You're adding into the toxic environment we have. Seriously, man, we need to watch. Some people just add to the pile of dirt we're already on. Like, and it's like, what made you decide that that was okay? That's all America is turning into one big pile of dirt right now. We're nothing more than that. We used to, we used to not be like that, but we're turning into that, and everybody just keeps accepting it as it is because they think that stuff's funny when it's not. All right. Achan's sin, chapter 7. But the Israelites were unfaithful in regard to the devoted things Achan, son of Karam, the son of Zirim, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took some of them. So the Lord's anger burned against Israel. Now Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is near Beth Aven, to set to the east of Bethel, and told them, "Go up and spy out the region." So the men went up and spied out Ai. When they returned to Joshua, they said, "Not all the army will go up against Ai. Send 2 or 3 thousand men to take it, and don't weary the whole army, for only a few people live there." About 3,000 went up, but they were routed by the men of Ai, who killed about 36 of them. They chased the Israelites from the city gate as far as the stone quarries, and stuck them down on the slopes. At this, the hearts of the people melted in fear and became like water. Then Joshua tore his clothes off and fell face down on the ground before the ark of the Lord, remaining there till evening. The elders of Israel did the same, and sprinkled dust on their heads. And Joshua said, "Alsa, sovereign Lord, why did you ever bring this people across the Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? If only we had been content to stay on the other side of the Jordan. Pardon your servant, Lord. What can I say? Now that Israel has been routed by its enemy, the Canaanites and other people of the country will hear about this, and they will surround us and wipe out our name from the earth. What then will you do for our great name?" The Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up. What you are doing, what are you doing down on your face? Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant, which I commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen. They have lied. They have put them with their own possessions. This is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. They turn their backs and run because they have made liable to destruction. They have been made liable to destruction. I will not be with you anymore unless you destroy whatever among you is devoted to destruction. Go consecrate the people. Tell them, consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. They devoted things among you. Israel, you cannot stand against your enemies until you remove them. In the morning, present yourself tribe by tribe. The tribe Lord chooses shall come forward, clan by clan. The clan the Lord chooses shall come forward, family by family, and family and the family the Lord chooses shall come forward man by man. Whoever is caught with devoted things shall be destroyed by by fire, along with all the belongings to him. He has violated the covenant of the Lord and has done an outrageous thing in Israel. Early the next morning, Joshua and Israel come forward by tribes, and Judah was chosen. Then the clan of Judah came forward, and the Zerahites were chosen. He had the clan of Zerahites come forward by the families, and Zimri was chosen. Joshua had his family come forward man by man, and Achan, son of Karam, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, of tribe of Judah, was chosen. Then Joshua said to Achan, my son, give glory to the Lord God of Israel and honor him. Tell him what you have done. Do not hide it from me. Achan replied, it is true. I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel. This is what I have done. When I was with the plunder a beautiful robe from Babylonia, 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold, weighing 15 shekels, I coveted them and took them. They are hidden in the ground, inside the tent, and the silver underneath. So Joshua sent the messenger, and they ran to the tent, and there it was, hidden in the tent. The silver underneath they took. They took the things from the tent, brought them to Joshua, and all the Israelites spread them out before the Lord. Then Joshua, together with all Israel, took Achan, son of Azarah, the silver and the robe, the gold bar, the sons and daughters, his cattle, donkeys, and sheep, his tent, and all that he had, to the valley of Achor. Joshua said, why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today. Then all Israel stoned him. After they stoned the rest, they burned them down. They burned them over Achan. They heaped up a large pile of rocks, which remains to this day. Then the Lord turned from his fierce anger. Therefore, that place has been called Valley of Achor ever since. So, this guy, Achan here, was the cause of why they couldn't get into Jericho. That's weird to know that, like, one person who sinned was, not exactly sinned, but didn't follow God's commands. One person messed everything up for everybody else. That's interesting how that worked. And that just goes to show you that sometimes this happens in real life too, where like you'll have one person out there that messes everything up for every other single person out there. And it's always something. And always one person messes it up because it's funny how it works because, okay, let's just say you get blessed. All right, you're blessed by God. You take your blessing and you take more of the blessing than sometimes, how do I want to say this? Sometimes you do more than you should. You overtake. All right, that's what a lot of people do. There's events that, like, let's just say you're at a place and they serve you like a donut and you're like, okay, I get a donut. But then you go back and you're like, you don't ask, you just take a second one without asking. That, and then, like, you're the person that eventually ends up doing it too many times where you get caught. And so, because you did it so many times where you got caught and you didn't listen, you messed it up for everybody else that was there with you. And that's how things like that work. And this guy here, he did it by himself. And the problem is, it's, like, people literally don't understand how working as a crowd works sometimes. Like, I literally say it myself. Like, there's moments where, like, you know, like, people do mess up things for other people, and it's pretty crazy how it works sometimes, because you can see it happen a lot. And I will say this: I don't normally get mean with people, but there's certain incidences where I have to. And if I'm getting mean with you because we're in a group and we're supposed to do everything together, but you take more than one, I'm gonna certainly probably kicked out that person and change some rules up so nobody can do it again. Because you know what? That's how it has to go. Because people don't want to listen. A lot of people do that. They mess things up for everybody else. So, well, not a lot of people. There are people that do that, mess things up for everybody else. When you feel like you're capable of getting away with stuff, that is like really, really, you do it too many times, you're gonna get caught eventually. It always happens. Okay. AI destroyed. Wow. AI destroyed. That's probably a reference to the future through God. Chapter 8. Then the Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid to destroy. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Take the whole army with you and go up and attack Ai. For I have delivered into your hand the king of Ai, his people, his city, and his land. You shall do to Ai and the king and its king as you did to Jericho and its king, except that you may carry off their plunder and livestock for yourself. Set an ambush behind the city. So Joshua and the whole army moved out to attack Ai. He chose 50,000 of his best fighting men and sent them out at night. With these orders, listen carefully. You are to set an ambush behind the city. Do not go very far from it. All of you, be on alert. And all I and all those with me will advance on the city. And when the men come out against us, as they did before, we will flee from them. They will pursue us until we have lured them away from the city. For they will say, they are running away from us and us as they did before. So when we flee from them, you are to rise up and ambush and take the city. The Lord your God will give it into your hand. When you have taken the city, set it on fire. Do what the Lord has commanded to see it. You have my orders. Then Joshua sent off, and they went to the place of ambush and lay in wait between Bethel and Ai. To the west of Ai, Joshua spent the night with the people. Early the next morning, Joshua mustered his army, and he and his leaders of Israel marched before them. Ai, the entire force was with him, marched up and approached the city and arrived in front of it. They set up camp north of Ai, in the valley between them and the city. Joshua had taken about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai to the west. To the west of the city. So the soldier took up their position with main camp to the north of the city and ambushed to those of the west. That night, Joshua went into the valley. When the king of Ai saw this, he and all the men of the city hurried out early in the morning to meet Israel in battle at a certain place overlooking Arab. But he did not know that an ambush had been set against him behind the city. Joshua and all Israel let themselves be driven back before them, and they fled toward the wilderness. All the men of Ai were called to pursue them, and they pursued Joshua, and they were lured away from the city. Not a man remained in Ai Bethel who did not go after Israel. They left the city open and went in pursuit of Israel. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Hold out toward Ai the javelin that is in your hand, or into your hand I deliver the city." So that Joshua held out towards the city the javelin that was in his hand. As soon as he did this, the men in the ambush rose quickly from their position and rushed forward the entire city and captured it and quickly set it on fire. The men of Ai looked back and saw the smoke of the city raising up into the sky, but they had no choice to escape in any direction. The Israelites, who had been fleeing towards the wilderness, had turned back against their pursuer. For when Joshua and Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city, and that the smoke was gone up from it, they turned around and attacked the men of Ai. Those in the ambush also came out from the city against them, so they were caught in the middle with Israel on both sides. Israel cut down, leaving them neither survivor nor fugitive, but they took the king of Ai alive and brought him to Joshua. That's crazy. So the whole thing actually worked. Their whole like plan they made to ambush the city and destroy the city. When Israel finished killing all the men of Ai in the fields and its wilderness, where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, all the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it. 12,000 men and women fell that day. All the people of Ai, for Joshua did not draw back the hand that held out his javelin until he had destroyed all who lived in Ai. But Israel did carry off for themselves the livestock and plunder of the city, as the Lord had instructed Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai and made it a permanent heap of ruins, a desolate place. To this day, he impaled the body of the king of Ai on a pole and left it there until evening at sunset. Joshua ordered them to take the body from the pole and throw it down at the entrance of the city gate. They raised a large pile of rocks over it, which remains to this day. So, as you can tell, that part got pretty gruesome. They basically destroyed the city they were supposed to because this guy basically openly admitted he did something wrong. So, the Lord just basically blessed everybody to go into the city because this one guy did this. The plan they made though was very, very clever. There's a book I read outside the Bible. It was called The Art of War, and it had like a bunch of really interesting tactics in it that as you sit there and read it. I didn't read the whole thing, but I read some of it. It's a very, very like it's on the level of this kind of reading. If you haven't read that, that's one. It just teaches you teaches you tactics of war, but then it has a whole like yeah, you have to pick it up and just look at it, but like it's a very, very good book. Okay, so the covenant renewed at Mount Ebal. Then Joshua built on Mount Ebal an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the Israelites. He built it according to what is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of uncut stone on which an iron tool had been used on it. They offered to the Lord burnt offerings and sacrificed the fellowship offering. There, in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua wrote on stone a copy of the law of Moses. All Israelites, which their elders, officials, and judges, were standing on both sides of the ark of the covenant of the Lord, facing the Levitical priest who carried it, both foreigners living among them and the native born were there. Half of the people stood in front of Mount Gerizim, and half of them in front of Mount Ebal. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, had firmly commanded when he gave instructions to bless the people of Israel. Afterwards, Joshua read all the words of the law, blessing and cursing. Afterwards, Joshua read all the words of the law, the blessings and the curses, just as it's written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses and the commandments that Joshua did not read to the whole assembly of Israel, including the women and children and the foreigners who lived among them. So we're on to chapter 9. I'm reading chapter 9 today too. So chapter 9 isn't very long. But yeah, as you can see here, you know, a lot happened. That's what, again, we're looking at stories of intensity right here. This is reasons I like the Bible, the stories in it, the lessons taught through it, stuff like that. So if you're not into any of that stuff, then and you're into like watching, you're like if you're not into like stories like this or anything, then just but like the Bible is something we all need and stuff like that. So like once in a while, don't pick it up in PDF form though, because I don't think that digital has the same, like I feel like digital doesn't have the same effect as the hard copy of the Bible. That's just how I feel. Like we're so far away from like these hard copies now that like it's rare for like somebody like even me to be on a YouTube channel reading the Bible to you, considering the fact that like we're in the digital age now, which is like it's like digital is like everything, like, and I'm just it's crazy when it comes down to it, but most people lean towards digital stuff because it's easier to carry. I still carry this thing with me, actually. All right. The Gebonite Deception, Chapter 9. When all the kings west of the Jordan heard about these things, the kings in the hill country, in the western foothills, and along the entire coast of the Mediterranean Sea, as far as Lebanon, And what happened? Leave this right there. All right. The king of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivitites, Jebusites, they came together. They came together to wage war against Joshua and Israel. However, the people of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Ai, and they restored to a rouse. They went as a delegation whose donkeys were loaded and worn out. Sacks and old wineskins, cracked and mended. They put worn and patched sandals on their feet, and worn old clothes. All bread of their food supply and was dry and moldy. Then they went to Joshua in the camp at Gilead and said to him, The Israelites and the Israelites, we have come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us. The Israelites said to the Hivitites, But perhaps you live near us, so how can we make a treaty with you? We are your servants, they said to Joshua. But Joshua asked, Who are you and where do you come from? They answered, Your servants have come from a very distinct country because of the fame of the Lord your God. For we have heard reports of him, all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites east of Jordan, Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Heshbon, who reigned in Ashtaroth. And our elders and all those living in our country said to us, Take provision for your journey, go and meet them, and say to them, We are your servants, make a treaty with us. This bread of ours was warm when we picked it at home on the day we left to come to you. But now see how dry and moldy it is, and these wineskins that we filled were new. But see how cracked they are, and our clothing and sandals are worn out by the very long journey. The Israelites sampled their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty to preach with them to let them live, and the leaders of assembly ratified it by oath. 3 days after they made the treaty with the Gibeonites, the Israelites heard that they were neighbors living near, so they came. So the Israelites set out on the third day, and third day came. Oh my, having trouble reading a little bit. So to their cities: Gibeon, Caprah, Beeroth, and Karath, Jimrah. But the Israelites did not attack them, because the leaders of the assembly had sworn an oath to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. The whole assembly grumbled against the leaders, but all the leaders answered, We have given them our oath by the Lord, the God of Israel, and we cannot touch them now. This is why we will do to them. We will let them live, so that God's wrath will not fall on us for breaking oath. We swore to them. And they continue to let them live, but let them be woodcutters and water carriers in their service. The whole assembly, so the leaders promised to keep them, so the leaders' promise to them was kept. Then Joshua summoned the Gibeonites, I think, and said, Why did you deceive us by saying we live a long way from you, while actually you live near us? You are now under a curse you will never be released from. Service as woodcutter, the water carries for the house of my God. They answered, Joshua, your servants were clearly told how the Lord your God had commanded his servants Moses to give you the whole land and wipe out all its inhabitants from before you. So we feared for our lives because for you, and that is why we did this. We are now in your hand. Do to us whatever seems good and right to you. So Joshua saved them from the Israelites, and they did not kill them. the day he made the Gibeonites woodcutters and water carriers for the assembly to provide for the needs of the altar of the Lord at the place the Lord would choose, and that is what they are to this day. So we're on chapter 10. That ending right there, they all came to visit him because they knew about the Lord and they were like curious about him. And that's the problem, is when, those people didn't know what was going on, so they didn't really get to follow. They weren't like really capable of following rules, and that's why, like, I don't know, they just lying was the thing that got them in trouble. So don't lie, I guess. um, so what time is it right now? So there's something I need to talk about here. Okay, so I saw this last night at work, and I brought it up to somebody. But okay, so I'm gonna say this the nicer way because I was saying a lot of like curse words last night. All right. So as I'm at work, there was a guy that showed up, a guy and his girlfriend, and I've been seeing this go on a lot, where a guy will obsess over his girlfriend, okay, and the girl will like walk off and do whatever, and she'll even like it's just it gets entirely weird. Okay, so I walked up and I saw her and I nodded to her, and his face just went like this. His whole face went like this. His whole face was like he was like kind of like, okay, I'm concerned now. All right, so men, if you're out there listening to me, we're supposed to be reading this and learning from this. We're not supposed to be obsessing over our girlfriends. When you get to that point where you're obsessed over your girlfriend, then you have a bit of a problem because you're obsessing over a human being and you're not putting God before the human being. You know, the problem with men and when they date is they don't understand how it works. Now, granted, this guy was wearing a cross. If if I knew him in person and knew how he was with his girlfriend, I would tell him to take the cross off because you're disrespecting God. You're disrespecting God by obsessing over your girlfriend, you know? And so he just made it even worse for himself. But what I'm hoping in the future is women start teaching men not to obsess like that. That's something that needs to be taught. Women, if guys are obsessed, if you're in a relationship and a guy's like completely obsessing over you and he won't like let you have freedom, he won't let you talk to people, he won't let you make eye contact. That's a relationship you need to get out of. Okay, I'm gonna clarify that. On top of it, something else he did that really just was like, okay, dude, you were definitely obsessed. Is I was looking up at her and he just steps in the middle of me and her and me remotely even making eye contact with her. This, granted, again, this dude's wearing a cross, so the crosses, people wear crosses, okay, and people will make up things to get you to believe stuff. And I had people talking to me all last night about, like, I had people come into my store and there was a lady like, I got saved, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. I'm like, well, you guys don't really need to tell me all this stuff. I'm not, that's the problem with us, is like, people are so quick to pretend stuff that I can tell, and it hardens my heart. Being obsessed with telling me, you got saved or whatever years ago. Congratulations, that's good for you. But that's not the point. And people made it into that because that's what they see me do here on YouTube and all that. The reality of the truth is you do not need to tell me all this stuff about you. Fortunately, my heart gets hardened and I just don't care. And then on top of it, we got these weird dudes going around pretending that are obsessed with, that are not pretending, but we got these dudes obsessed with their girlfriends wearing crosses. That's a no-no. You are committing a sin with a cross on, my dear friend. You're disrespecting God. And when I see that kind of stuff, it bothers me. It bothers me because it not only bothers me, it bothers me because in the Bible, it states that you are not supposed to obsess with anybody under God. It doesn't matter how you look at it. being in an obsessive relationship, or or being obsessed with who your girlfriend or boyfriend is talking to. You're supposed to trust one another. That's what that builds. And that didn't build trust. And I hope she noticed that. And I hope she broke it off with him. Because that wasn't trust. That's him showing he has insecurities. And if you can't get it past the stage where your insecurities show, then you don't belong with that person. This girl was probably too cute for him. And that's why he was acting the way he was. He was acting obsessed. Girl was probably way too cute for him, and he knew it. And that's, basing it upon what he did, he showed a lot about himself. He showed it being a weakness for him. He showed a lot of stuff out of that. Now, I want it to be like, buddy, I wish I could have been like, buddy, take that cross off because you don't need that cross on. Take that cross off. Until you let her step in front of you and talk, or me even making eye contact with her, you don't deserve to be wearing that cross. Because you are making your life about that woman. You aren't even making it about you. I bet he goes broke. I bet he goes broke because he's obsessed with that girl. And I don't feel bad. That's what a lot of them need to do, is they need to go broke, and they need to understand that your obsession with a girl isn't good. That's why I'm not obsessing with anybody. People told me I was obsessing with somebody, and no, it wasn't obsession. It wasn't an obsession. It was more like, I respect the person, and yeah, she's beautiful. But as for obsessing over her, no. I don't obsess over her. It's the fact that, it's the fact that, the Lord tries to send me blessings. Alright? And when I see a girl really pop out at me, and God's making me feel like I have to connect with her, I am gonna get on the defensive about certain things solely because it's something God put there for me to God put there to me for God put that person there for me to connect with. Alright? And there's a difference between being comfortable with your girlfriend and having her go in to talk, and being outright obsessed with her and not letting her talk to anybody. There is a big difference. And I'm a guy who, I've been in relationships, and I didn't care that the girl talk to another guy. There was a point one time when I was younger that there was a guy my girlfriend was talking to, and she proved to me she really, really liked me, so I didn't care. I didn't care if she talked to the guy, because there was no connection. They weren't hanging out. They weren't hanging out outside of the relationship or anything like that. So that's why I wasn't concerned. Plus, if that would have happened, I probably would have left. I would have probably broke it off with her anyway, because I understand and knew that she really, really liked me, and she even proved it by, there was a moment later on that she openly admitted. She's like, I had this guy that came up to me, and it was a guy that was he was the guy that goes and tries to steal another man's girlfriend because he feels like he's entitled to everything. And this was when I was younger, and she proved to me that she was all for a relationship. So that's why I didn't even that's why I never worried about her going and hanging out with other guys and stuff like that. Now, as for that, if you're a guy worried that your girlfriend's gonna cheat on you, you best leave that relationship, because you're gonna end up ending it. You're gonna end up ending it, and you're gonna end up ruining it for yourself. A relationship, the very beginning of a relationship is supposed to be built on trust. It's supposed to be built on trust and understanding one another and getting to know one another instead of it getting too deep. Look, if you're going in, the first, I want to say, if I don't condone this, but if you haven't been on a few dates, and you take her out, and this is your first date, you're already obsessing with her, dude. She's not good for you. She's not gonna be good for you, And the fact that I see that too often. Young guys don't know what they're doing today. Older guys like me, I know more about what I'm doing because I've been here long enough, you know. And as for going out on a date, yes, I know a lot about going out on dates because I've been on enough of them. But some of these girls out here in Orlando, in Florida to be exact, they're not cut out the way they used to be. They choose guys for the wrong reasons now, and it's very very hard for me to date because it's not because I'm a loser or anything like that. I have my moments, of course, but it's harder for me to date because you know the women in today's society have made it difficult. They made it really difficult, and they look for like every single flaw in a person, especially when in today's society where like a lot of what I see is condemning the white male, unfortunately, and that's where we're at right now. Is white males and light skinned males are condemned because we all fit this one persona of people, and if you're not into that one persona of people, the rest of the persona of the world, which you know, it just really puts a damper on your dating life because people don't date to have something last long. And most times that scares people away because they're not looking for that long lasting relationship. And that's something I learned as in the past few years is like, it's even been said that people go into relationships expecting them to fail, expecting them not to last long. And so like when we go in with that mindset, we're always gonna like end up like meeting the wrong person. It's gonna end quickly, stuff like that. You gotta go in there with the mindset that you want that thing to last longer because it's gonna last longer regardless. But like a lot of people don't want to understand that, and they mess it up for themselves, and society messes up everything for everybody else. So that's why right now, even me, I have trouble dating, and a lot of people are sexually depriving themselves, you know, and that's the problem is people were big on this like whole agenda about like you go on a date or two and then you have sex. That's all it really is. And then I remember when it first came about where sex was accepted on the first date. And we're at that point now where it's not even a first date anymore. You can just be friends and stuff like that. And that's where it really went downhill. Um yeah, it just we're in a really difficult time period to say the least. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and pray right now, and I'm gonna pray for some people right now. Um, all right, Lord Jesus Christ, I pray to you right now to fix some things for me because there's some things that need fixed. Lord, if there's a moment where a guy is obsessing over a girl, and he won't let the girl talk to me, I want you in reverse to make the girl act upon the fact that he's acting like that and teach him not to act like that. Like have her do the exact same thing to the guy that's in front of her. Or if he's like getting in the way and he's getting obsessed, have her teach her to act in a way where it teaches him not to act like that, Lord. Like if you really need to, if that happens to me, Lord, send the girl in front of the guy trying to block me and then have her talk to me. So that way it can be this whole thing about obsession can stop, Lord. Um, Lord, I see it far too much, and there's something that needs to be done to get it taken care of. Unfortunately, Lord, it's a little bit. There's a lot of it that goes on, and I just wish a lot of people would understand they are in the wrong for it. They don't have control over people, and that's where you need to step in and teach them that they don't have control over anything. That you are in charge of everything. So, Lord, teach them that. Also, Lord, anybody that's diluting my Discord with pictures of homosexuality of any sorts, whether it be from graphic novels, anything, Lord, teach them not to do that. Put it in their minds that they were in the wrong for doing it, and make them understand that, make them uneasy when they do it. Make them feel uneasy when they do that kind of stuff. So that way, they know not to do it in the future. Lord, also, I pray that you bless Melanie Mack today. She always needs blessed. Bless Brittany Venti today. She always needs blessed. Lord, also bless me today. People aren't staying on my good side. I keep learning stuff, and then people get mad at me for learning stuff. So Lord, anything I'm learning today or showing off or anybody needs to see, you need to teach them that it's wrong. And Lord, I want you to like, get people to get away from politics this year, because politics is causing a lot of the homosexuality group, the LGBTQ, uh, to blow up on the internet, and we need to step away from that, and we need to step away from politics. So Lord, if you could teach people to stop being obsessed with politics, because that's where it stems from, and you know, and all around, bless everybody that needs blessed, Lord, in Jesus' name, Amen. So there you go, there you have it. A lot of stuff that I need to pray for. Yes, I actually did research last night. I come to conclusion, and this is just something I found out. But the most of okay, so I was looking at statistically where it all stems from, and a lot of the LGBTQ movement is in Washington D.C., which is the United States capital. Which then, if you look at Twitter and stuff like that, you can see a lot of that coming out, where the political system is being backed by the LGBTQ, and that's why we're in such a pit we are right now. If we were more aware of that, you know, what are we to do at this point? Who the heck knows? But I certainly hope there's some sort of action that gets taken about this by God, and God just wipes it out. Unfortunately, politics was overruled by the devil. That's unfortunate, and that's why it is. That's why it's gotten the way it has. That's what and I don't know who to blame for this one. There's a couple guys in office that we could blame, but politics is overruled right now, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why I say don't go vote, because you're contributing to the LGBTQ at this point. And nobody's really gonna fix America at this point, considering the fact that it's backed by the LGBTQ. Like, seriously, go check it out. I did the research. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, take it easy. Have a blessed day, and I'll be seeing you later on for another stream. God bless.